teas earlier. I didn't even know what I was looking at. It was so hazy out there. Man, hoping for better air quality. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
Well, breaking news coming in just now to our newsroom. Northern News Now anchor Dan Wolf has confirmed with Duluth Police that Officer Tyler Leibfried is now on paid leave after an open investigation into a complaint. Tyler Leibfried is the same officer who was at the center of a criminal investigation in 2020 after responding to a domestic incident at a downtown apartment when he thought he heard gunshots on the other side of the door. That's when he fired several shots into an apartment door, striking Jared File, who was unarmed. Leibfried was the first DPD officer to be charged for an on-the-job shooting. That shooting resulted in a $600,000 settlement with the victim. Northern News Now is also able to obtain a list of complaints against Officer Leibfried, in which he has faced throughout his time with DPD. In his 9 years on the force, he's been at the center of 20 complaints. DPD tried to terminate Leibfried, but he was reinstated after being found not guilty of the charges against him. As for the details of this new open investigation, they've not been made public at this time, but we're working to learn more specifics. Stay with Northern News Now as we continue to track the developments in this story. We'll be right back after the break.